Hi, good morning and a warm welcome. Holly Shields here for Kalkine TV, reporting to you live from Sydney. You're watching the Global Markets Roundup. Let's dive into some key highlights and happenings from last Friday, starting with the US market. Benchmark US indices closed at record highs yesterday, Monday, August the 23rd, pulled up by gains in tech and energy segments as investors turn their focus on risky assets amid hopes of a faster economic recovery. The S&P 500 was up 0.85%, while the Dow Jones rose 0.61%. The Nasdaq Composite gained 1.55%, and the small cap Russell 2000 was at a very handsome 1.88%. Investor spirits were lifted by the news of the FDA approval of a new Pfizer BioNTech vaccine that could help curb the Delta infections. The drug is suitable for people aged 16 years and above. Following the news, Pfizer stock surged 2.28% and BioNTech stock surged a steep 9.01%. Tech, energy and consumer discretionary stocks were among the top movers this morning. 8 of the 11 sectors of the S&P 500 stayed in the green, although utility and real estate stocks trailed. The stock of Chinese e-commerce giant JD.com rose 2.29% after the company reported its second quarter earnings. Its revenue rose by 26.2% year on year to 253.80 billion renminbi, and its adjusted earnings were at 4.63 billion. And ride-hailing firm Uber Technology rose 2.47%, while Lyft rose as well 2.42% after a California judge stated a ballot measure that obstructed drivers' right to be accepted as workers of the companies. The court declared a California rule unconstitutional. And stocks of Canada-based immuno-oncology company Trillium Therapeutics jumped on an eye-watering 189% in intraday trading after Pfizer agreed to acquire the company for around $2.3 billion US. And we know recalls of products are never good, but they're particularly bad for pricey items like luxury cars. US auto giant General Motors knows that all too well as their stock fell 1.10% after the company said the expanded recall of its Chevrolet Bolt EVs would cost around $1 billion. Moving on to the other markets now, and global equity markets rose while the US dollar dipped on Monday as investors' concerns that the Federal Reserve would soon begin changing its accommodative monetary stance faded. The MSCI World Equity Index, which tracks shares in 50 countries, was up 1.18%, recovering after having its biggest weekly fall since June last week. And European stocks recovered from their biggest weekly losses in nearly 6 months on Monday, helped by mining and oil stocks, as commodity prices bounced back from steep losses driven by uncertainty over US monetary policy and rising COVID-19 cases. The Pan-European Stocks 600 index closed 0.7% higher after losing nearly 1.5% last week. And now it's time for a short break, but stay with us because I'll be right back as we look at the Asian and Australian market updates. Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
Where the property market is headed next.
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly.
Apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
With Kalkine TV. Welcome back, I'm Holly and you're watching Global Market Roundup. Japan's Nikkei share average jumped on Monday after plumbing an 8-month low in the previous session, as auto-related stocks rebounded from losses following Toyota Motors' announcement of slashing global production by 40% next month. The Nikkei rose 1.78% on the bargain hunting after it hit its lowest since December on Friday. Shares of Chinese companies rose on Monday as well, bouncing back from a sharp drop last week, as authorities reported no new local COVID-19 cases for the first time since July, and as regulators moved to further the open of the country's financial markets. At the close, the blue chip CS 1300 index was 1.4% higher after falling more than 3.5% last week. South Korean shares ended up nearly 1%, driven by major tech heavyweights, following Friday's rally on Wall Street, as upbeat exports data boosted investor sentiment. The Kospi closed up 29.70 points, or 0.97%, rebounding from a 1.21% drop on Friday. Now let's have a look at the shares closer to home. The local share price index futures rose 0.1%, a 54.9 discount to the underlying S&P ASX 200 index close. The benchmark gained 0.4% to end the trade yesterday. And domestic materials sector stocks might just dominate the gains on higher commodity prices. Oil Search, Kogan.com, Seek, Viva Energy, Boral and Ansell are a few firms that could announce their results today. And earlier, the US Food and Drug Administration gave a nod to the pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. And with that said, the Delta cases have risen in regions with low vaccination rates. Investors now await the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech at Jackson Hole this week to get hints of when the central bank would wind down its bond buying program. As a result, the benchmark 10-year yields were little changed, and the US dollar index fell 0.516%. Crude oil prices surged overnight due to weakness in the US dollar and no fresh cases of coronavirus reported from China. While the Brent crude climbed 5.5% to settle, the WTI crude for October delivery rose slightly higher at 5.6% to settle. Energy stocks like Woodside Petroleum and Santos could be trading higher today as well. Boosted by the weaker greenback, gold prices rose over the key $1,800 US psychological level, as spot gold rose 1.32% after hitting its highest since the 5th of August. ASX listed stocks like Northern Star Resources and Newcrest Mining could also be trading higher today. Meanwhile, 3-month copper on the London Metal Exchange has gained 2.7%. Well, that's just about all for now, but keep watching Kalkine TV for more market updates. Holly Shields signing off.